Today we will cover basically two topics. The first is about your introduction to the novel. I will let you know that what Alchemist is about, and then we will talk about how we need to read Alchemist. So let's start with the first one, that is about its reading. So Alchemist, as we discussed, that Paulo has written it, and the story is about a shepherd, and originally it was written in Portuguese, but basically in a in a place of you can say in Spain, it was plotted. So this is a story about a boy, a shepherd, who was traveling uh, for his dream, and to recurring his dream, uh, like believing on that he is going to be a prophetic. So he asked a gypsy for fortune teller that what this is about. Then the woman who was there, she interpreted that dream that he needs to travel, and he needs to travel, and during that traveling he will discover a treasure, and that treasure will be where, that is in at the Egyptian pyramids. So what Alchemist did, sorry, what that shepherd did, he started traveling, and during his traveling he met a lot of people who basically changed his journey, and that journey changed not only in one perspective but into so many. So that's why New York Times, they called it that this novel is about one's destiny. Not only one's destiny, but they also titled Alchemist that it is more self-help than literature. Like it guides someone what to do in life. It tells the real purpose of the life, what it should be. So it's mostly based on so many pieces of advices. You learn a lot about the realities of the world, of the real self, and through some quotes, with, and these are the original words of the Paulo. So with his so much words, he has shown a real world, what it should be like, how you need to behave when you are uh, in any situation. So this is all discussed into this novel. This is going to move basically around a journey, and along with the journey, the boy met with so many people as well, and from those people he learned a lot, he worked a lot. Even sometimes fate took a lot from him, his treasures, he lost so many his treasures, money, um his stock of lambs, gods. So these but all these things taught him so many good lessons about the life as well, and due to these lessons he went to his real destination. So that's why um, um, Alchemist is considered the most published, the most translated, and the most sold. ओके फरिया, उर्दू भी यूज करती हूँ, ठीक है। तो अल्केमिस्ट को बेसिकली फरिया इंग्लिश is allowed but not Urdu. Urdu is not allowed in the lectures. People say that how you are going to learn if I'm going to talk in Urdu in English class. So that's a problem. But if there will be any difficulty in hearing me or in understanding me, you can ask me. Just raise your hand and I will translate it again. Alchemist was first released to Rocco, and then the Brazilian publishing house published it, and the there were so many topics that were so much highlighted about Alchemist, and it's so many quotes later on used in so many other literature pieces, and in so many you can say dramas and the movies. So that shows that it has a great impact on the life of people. It has shown people that how to fulfill the dream, how to work on a dream when you wanted to really achieve something, how to go for it. So Alchemist shown a thirst towards the destination. And now, how we need to read this novel? This is basically based on three types of. There are so many different that that we are going to discover time by time, but these are very important 3 points that we really need to learn while reading it. As you know, it's not a simple you can say novel in which we are just going to read the statements and we are going to discover it's simple a simple story. It's not that kind of story. It's about analyzing it in depthly. So when you need to analyze this kind of novel in depth in depth, so there we need to use three kind of tactics or the skills. The first one, if you I have shared it on your screens, if you can see it, it's about induction, then it's about deduction, and then prediction. So these are the three ways according to which we have to start this novel. So when we talk about inductive and deductive, so basically you people have idea that we have read in science that inductive and deductive reasoning. So how it works in literature, this is what we have to decide today. Basically, before inductive and deductive reasoning, all these points need some argument. So there we say that first we need to learn what is an argument. If we need to learn an argument, so we will say that while we are thinking about something, where we talk about a certain statement, so that statement needs an other statement to prove it, to support it, that I always talked about. You know, in the previous lectures I talked to you guys that we need to understand that statement, and to prove that statement true, we need some evidences, and those evidences can be provided with a real fact based statement, with another statement. So this is an argument. The argument is what we thought we have written into the form of a sentence, or we have orally talked about it in the form of a statement. That statement needs a logical reason or a fact to prove it as an evidence. So that is another statement. So the first one statement then become a reason, and that is an argument. The state of thinking that, so then how it is going to contrast with the reasoning? In while we were thinking, we used a reason in support of that conclusion, like to support that statement. The what reason we used, that is your reasoning. So argument is the first statement that we plotted, and to support that argument, what uh, we use another statement, that is the reason. So these are two different points. So when we talk about these reasoning, we talked about that how these reasons go on. A statement is given. For example, Paolo has mentioned that uh, there are so many statements in Alchemist, like if you have so much desire for something, to achieve, so you will go for it, and the whole universe conspires uh, to so that your wish come true. So this kind of statement, how the Paulo has proved it, he proved it with so many examples, with the journey of the boy. So these are basically proved statements. Then if the very first one that we talked about was inductive, so how we need to work on statements inductively. An inductive argument is considered the one that is uh, that is going to be true, and we are going to prove it through the conclusion. And during that conclusion, when we are going to reach towards the conclusion, before that we always try to have some experiments, some experiences, some observations, and on the basis of these observation and experience, we state that idea, we quote that statement, and then to prove that statement, we uh, we we sometimes give real life examples, we sometimes put some experiments, we put some research work. So that is inductive reasoning, like from a general idea moving towards a specific conclusion, that is inductive reasoning. I think those who are from chemistry, they must have an idea about this reasoning. I don't know if they have or not, but I'm sure they have. Then when we say that, if we talk about inductive reasoning, you can say that the kind of thinking, it's a kind of thinking that is done to form general idea based on experiences and observations. And inductive reasoning allows us to create generalization about things. So a general idea is created through inductive reasoning. Process of recognizing pattern of observations and drawing a conclusion based on that pattern. That means from uh, that idea we prove a statement, reasoning from a specific case or case and driving a general. So that means there was a specific case, like for example we say that all birds fly. So from all birds fly, we are going to move towards how those birds fly. So we say that owl is a bird and owl fly. So from a very specific statement, we moved towards the general one. Like owl is a bird and owl can fly. So all birds can fly. If similarly, if you move towards the next point, so how in our literature we can find out the inductive reasoning, the generalization in other words. So sometimes we can show, we can see it by example, sometimes we can see it by causes, sometimes we can go for the by a statement of the authority with the signature and analogy. So in literature you can go with the very first two, that is about by example and by cause. By example, if you will see that we can induce from these examples, there are so many the links are given onto the YouTube. So if you will see it, you will see that how with the words they have given you, like that owls, as I have given you the example about the owls, that their ability to turn their heads in a unique way. If you can see the picture, so this is an ability of the owls, that they can turn their head in a specific way. So a specific statement is given about a bird. So argument is made onto it by cause, to establish a cause and effect relationship between two events. So The link below that is given to you. If you will see it, they have talked about how they experienced, like how they the owls, they try to turn their head in a side way, and how it is going to be proved with their statements. And if you are going to talk about the authority, no, don't go for the authority. How we next we have to move, I will remove these from your slides. Then if we are going to move towards that inductive conclusions, how they play their role. So basically established with the 4 stages. The very first stage is we can conclude something inductively with the observation. So how that those observations are made? These observations are made when we are going to collect some facts, some real truth, without involving our own thought. Like if you can say, when we do critical analysis, as we have done in the past, so you can recall that there were some points where you put your own thoughts into it. But when we talk about inductive conclusions, so to reach an inductive conclusion, we never try to like work on our thoughts. What facts are in front of us, we just work on it. For example, if I'm going to say like sun sets in the west, so this is a fact. You are not going to put your own analysis that what you have observed, it is something else. So without keeping your thought into that, or without putting your thought into this fact, you just take things, keep things aside, and just work on the truths. Then analysis of this is to classify the facts and identify pattern of regularity. That means you are just going to work on those facts, how those facts are working, how we can uh, differentiate them into the types, how we can do the classification of those facts, those truths. So you analysis that. Then inferences are made on it, that okay, fine, if sun sets in the west, so that means from this pattern what we can get as an idea. So that means it must have something else. There must be a pattern that how the sun revolves around the earth. So how the sun revolves around uh, its orbit. So collecting by the collection of these facts, they working on these patterns. So you are going to infer some generalizations about the relation between these facts. Then confirmation is the last point. Confirmation is always based on the testing of that inference. Like first you observe the fact, then you classified that, and observed the regularity and identified that this fact is real through your observation, and then you made an inference on it. And confirmation is basically testing that it is true, or it is proved or not. Sorry, it's already true. Sorry, it is proved now. So testing means you are further going to observe it. When you are further observing something, that means you deeply going to research, you're deeply going to extract its another its logical reasoning, its support. Then through that support you are going to prove it. Now when inductive or arguments are made, how they build up, they build up like in a way like part to whole relation, like where the whole is assumed to be like individual parts be like individual parts. Like for example, if one thing is related to something, as I have categorized, like all birds fly, and owl is a bird, so owl also can fly. So that means whole was what? All birds, and individual part is what? Individual part is owl. So this all is related to with one and each other. So that is a part to whole argument that you have proved. Then extrapolations are what? Where areas beyond the area of study are assumed to be like the studied area. uh, like you can say, if one thing you are studying, for example, you are working on the facts of that sun revolves around the earth. For example, this is a fact that you are sun sets in the west. This is a fact around which you are working. So related to the this very fact, you are studying now that how sun sets in the west. That means we need to explore how sun revolves, and what is the pattern of its orbits. All these are related areas of study with the first fact. So the study that is linked with the first study, these are basically a tactic that we that we um, that we do during the inductive arguments. Similarly, when we talked about the predictions of something, that means what then its future be like from the past observation. So that is what we make. Predictions I will teach you in a detail, because it's a basic that we need to learn. So here what we talk about, like inductive reasoning is like when someone unfriends you on Facebook, but you know it's because his girlfriend's jealous and it really means he wants to hook up. Or is that deductive reasoning? So what do you consider from this statement? When I will give you the lecture on deductive as well, read this statement again and then answer. Let's move towards the deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning now is about from a general case in order to draw a conclusion about a specific instances. So first was that from a specific one, we moved towards the general one. Now we have a general statement, and from general statement, we are heading towards a specific conclusion. Deductive reasoning starts with an assumed hypothesis. Like general statement is never be like sun sets in the west. It's not like that. That is a fact. So that is a specific one. Owl is a bird and owl can fly. So that is a specific one. That is not a general one. General one is earth revolves around the sun revolves around the earth. For example, this is. So this is a general one, or earth revolves around the orbit. So these are the general ones. Similarly, all birds can fly. This is the general one. So how to reach the specific one? They can give you an idea that from deductive reasoning, we start with the assume. Like this is going to be now the opposite pattern of the inductive one. Inductive one was started with an observation and reached towards the assumptions, but deductive is going to start with an assumption. Like we made a thought in our mind that this could be for the future. So on the basis of that assumption, we state a hypothesis. Hypothesis mean a general truth we based, a theory we make, a general theory we make. So now after that we need to prove it. These assumptions may be well accepted or rather shaky. That means sometimes through our observation we are failed to prove that, and another observation, but that means in opposite to that another statement we are going to prove. But if it's true, the conclusion cannot be questions. So that means whatever the statement you have given, it is not questions. Nobody is going to put a question mark on it. So what? Then what? How? Why? So these not be questions because it is proved. Then deductive reasoning is also called that scientists normally to do it, to take a general scientific law and apply it to certain case when they assume that the law is true. So before proving the law, they make a law and then they prove it. Similarly, in literature, what we do, we draw a statement, and to prove that statement, we put an other statements in the favor of that. And when it is proved through our other statements, then it becomes specific one. Yeah. All planets revolve around stars. The Earth is a planet. Therefore, the Earth revolves around a star. The Earth revolves around the sun. Therefore, sun is a star. So, how it is proved as in deductive reasoning? Like all planets, like including Earth, including sun, including all planets, like all the Jupiters and Earth. So, all these are planets. So these are revolves around the star. So now what is about, if stars, including not only stars but it including moon and sun as well, so that means planet also revolves around the sun and the moon as well. So that's why the what is the reason they have given? They have given a reason that earth revolves around the sun, and therefore they also say that if earth revolves around the sun, that means sun is a star. So from a general reason that all planets revolve around the star, now they have given the names of those, what are the planet, what are the stars, so how they revolve with each other, around each other. So that is a specify thing. Similarly, in literature, we have to do as we have quoted the example of in Alchemist, like as one of the quote that in the previous lecture I have talked about, like one is loved, um no reason requires, one is loved and the one is loved. So if you will see that in this novel, you will see that how the boy loved by someone or he loves someone, and what reason was there, why the writer has written this statement through is the this novel, through the statements that he quoted into the novel further to prove this statement, how he talked about it, so he proved it. So that very specified thing, how he generalized it, and then how some generalized things he made some specified words about it. Then if we talk about deductive reasoning, so deductive reasoning is like assumption based. So assumptions when are made, they are always going to make a general statements, basic statements, and with those basic statements you argue on these basic statements, that that arguments are applicable everywhere in the world. As you can see from the novel, uh, if we are going to take again the example of that, uh, uh, when you really want something to happen and the whole universe will conspire so that your wish come true. So that means something is argued. when something is stated as in basic law. For example, this is a basic law that he is made, like if you have keen desire for something, the whole universe will help you to achieve that thing. So from this basic law, he how proved this thing with the journey of the boy, that he wanted to get the treasure from the pyramids. So Egyptian pyramids. So how much he traveled, he given up his everything, even his love of life, and he wanted to move towards the destination. So through all these statements, Paulo has proved his this statement. So that means now this is applicable for the rest of all. So that's why this novel is considered as self-help. Why it is a self-help? Because it is going to give you an idea. Put your 100% effort towards a thing to achieve your destination, and surely you will do it. It's not only a we being Muslims have so much faith on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and on our prayers as well. So these all are along with your efforts really going to really going to work for you, and they will take you towards your destination, and surely you will reach it. So that means this is not just a statement. This basic thing as proved, and now it is applicable everywhere on every human being. Similarly, the next point, if we are going to talk about, it is about that means scientists always prove a general law from a particular case, from a specific case, and then they do many experiments on it, and then they apply it towards all. Similarly is for this novel. When we are going to read so many statements into it, we will see that what Paulo has said about this in this novel, there are so many general statements with his so many arguments, how he proved it, that now these are applicable and these are considered true in the world, and people quote them as in truth based. So these are the specified one. In this way you have to read this novel. So deductive reasoning is a credible and safe form of reasoning, but it is based on assumed truth of the rule or law on which it is founded. So its base is basically general one. Sometimes people consider it that deductive reasoning is based on a general statement. So maybe it's a shaky, but it's not a shaky one. Why? Because that general statement is now proved one through the experiments, through the reasoning, through the logics, through another statements, through another research. So that's why it is applicable everywhere. If you are going to talk about the deductive reasoning, the deductive arguments, sorry, are based on what? They are based on laws, they are based on rules, they are widely accepted principles, theories, and hypotheses. So that means deductive, when you specify something, and which specification is now applicable around the world or on everyone. So it is not now a doubty statement. It is proved one, and you can prove, as you can see on the slide, these 5 things can prove it true. So what basically is the argument? That deduction is always started with the general statement, and it ends towards a specified thing. All men are mortal. It's a general statement. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is a man. Mortal now is specific statement. So if the premises are true, the conclusion is also be true. So for deductive reasoning is said That means similarly you can say the general one is birds fly, and owl is a bird, so bird all fly. So you can see that from a general statement we reach towards a specific one, that owl is a bird and owl can fly. But in inductive what we do, this is total opposite of it. Like owl can fly, so we can say owl is a bird, all birds can fly. So from a specified one we reach towards the general one, that is inductive reasoning. Like if I'm going to give you the example from the novel, so you can see we will quote or the Paulo has quoted that the boy all men can achieve their destination if they are going to conspire about it. So he proved it through the journey of the shepherd. So now he can say that the boy, he proved it through this journey, that what he desired, he was there on the destination, he reached to that destination. So that became now from the general to a specified one. So this is a deductive reasoning. Now if you wanted to differentiate these two, this following slide will help you to do it. Like induction is usually described as moving from the specific to general, while deduction begins with a general and ends with the specific one. Arguments based on the laws and rules and accepted principles are generally used for deductive reasoning, and observations tend to be used for inductive reasoning. Our general observations are used for inductive reasoning when we have to prove it, but the truth, the laws and the rules and already accepted principles are used for the general one. Why? Because general is already not based on a specific on not based on any truth. It is a statement that from the observation we going to quote. For example, if I'm going to say that uh, I'm going to make a general statement that boys are more intelligent as compared to girls, as girls are more hardworking than boys. So this is my general observation. If I'm going to work on this general statement and I will collect data from different departments, and I will, in my observation, I have seen so many students who just work for few hours, and boys who work for few hours and they get really good grades. But girls, they most of the time they try to be more studious as compared to boys, and then they achieve good grades. So through my observation, I have proved that as intelligence factor is one thing that boys have more as compared to girls. Girls are more hard working, and through the hard work they prove their self, um, like in their studies or in any task. So that general statement, I had a general statement, and then my observations proved it. And that observations were not just observations. I worked with so many students, and those students gave me this idea about the uh, about this fact. So that means now it is proved one. So from a simple argument I reach towards a general one, so that is the deductive. From that specific one I reach towards the general, so that was the induction. And deduction is, if I'm going to say that uh, this is now if going to applicable for only girls and boys, if all I'm going to talk about all the girls and all the boys. So towards moving towards the general one and moving towards the specific one is moving towards the general one is induction. Whenever you have to go for the deduction, you will say that it is specific one. Then the next point is about what are predictions. Okay, wait a minute. Let me to take a question from your side. If you have any question, you can ask. Guys, if you have any question, you can ask. I have unmuted you. If you have any question, you can ask. You can raise your hand. Okay, fine. Let's move towards the prediction. Predictions are the connecting links between prior knowledge and new information. How we make predictions? That means we have something in our mind already, and with that something we have observed so many things, or we have experienced so many things. So with that specific knowledge, that previous knowledge and extra information that we already have into the mind, that already placed something in our mind, and the new information that we collected, when we are going to link those two with each other, then we make predictions. So basically what it is said, it is the interaction of these processes that coalesces much like sparks firing before the bright flame ignites. That means uh, like you are going to put more into that your previous knowledge. You collect more information to prove it, to authenticize it more. So that is the prediction. So when we talk about this prediction, what it basically brings, what it means, what we collect from it, like you use your prior knowledge, your previous knowledge that is already in your mind, and the text to set up expectations of what will happen in the future and what information that text will contain. Then you use your own knowledge of the vocabulary, concept, text, organization of the author, or other connections. And you monitor your predictions as you read and adjusted or confirmed them as needed to better understand the text. As you have made the predictions in your novel The Pearl, you will see there were some statements when we talked about that now Kino got the pearl. So a prediction was made that he is going to now change his life. That life changing either is going to be bad, either is going to be good, that is something else. But life is going to be changes, that was a prediction that based on the facts that Kino received a pearl. He found a treasure of the pearl. So that means previous knowledge was what? Previous knowledge we had, obviously, it's a general thing we always have in our mind, that if somebody is going to get a treasure, the treasure will help to change their life. So that was a prediction. When we talk about how we can learn the prediction, strategy of prediction, so that means when the students make prediction, their understanding increases and they are more interested in the reading material because they wanted to presume things. Then what Anderson said and Pearson said, that students use their background knowledge. Yes, sorry, I was confused, like how to tell you about the prior knowledge. Prior knowledge means background knowledge of the something, as well as clues from the text. to predict and to anticipate or logically guess what the text will be about. For example, if I'm just before teaching you the novel The Pearl, so from The Pearl, what came in our mind, that's something that is very precious, shiny, a treasure. So these are the things that we already had in our mind. And while reading that novel, we logically guessed that yes, it is true. It is true. What prediction we made, it is true that yes, the pearl is basically a treasure. It is really precious stone that was going to change the life of the characters. So that is the previous knowledge. When we talk about how prediction can be done, and how it is going to help you in your knowledge, it basically access your knowledge of a topic and concept and its structure, what text is given into it. So you have to, while reading your novel, you have to read the statements, not on the basis of what is written into the novel, but what is in your mind as well. Like from as we have talked about the quotes, so do what is in your mind about those quotes, it is also, it should be also there. And with that, you are going to predict the text as well, in a way, what, how these quotes is going to be discussed in this novel, in this in the novel that is Alchemist. Then sets a purpose for reading. Before reading Alchemist, I talked to you about its general information, that how, what basically this novel is about. So now, why you wanted to read it? You need to set a goal. It's not like you are going to just get grades and that's why you are going to read it. There are so many other agendas, like you wanted to improve your skills, that are not only your reading skill, but also your speaking skill, your vocabulary, your writing skills, how the writer has written the structure, how the writer has uh, structured the sentences. So this is all you are going to work. So and also, most importantly, you are going to learn a lot of real facts from this novel. So set a goal, why you wanted to, then provides this goal will provide a motivation to you. If you are not motivated, you will not be interested into reading. So that's why your, you must be purpose oriented while reading the novel. You must be goal oriented, that you are going to achieve something. So you will read it carefully. Then you read to confirm or contradict response. And maybe if I'm saying this is about a journey and this will help you, and it will help so many people, that how they can achieve things in their life, and how they can put struggle towards a thing, how they can move towards a thing. Maybe my points are for me, and you are going to think opposite to my points. So to prove these points wrong sometimes, or to prove these points true, maybe you wanted to read it. So this will help you how to predict. Then prediction helps you to set a purpose of reading and anticipate and find out what you will read. And making and reviewing predictions help you to interact with the text. Then predictions help you to connect your prior knowledge, as we talked about, that with the information that is already given into the novel. Then predictions help you to develop mental models. Obviously, predictions are something that we make in our mind. And in our mind, we properly develop a model, that yes, this is the way that things will happen. For example, if you're watching a movie and in that movie there are so many things that are now going against the hero, and you are going to think, oh, I'm sure this he is going to die at the very end. So that prediction you have already made in mind. So before his murder, you will see that so many things are happening, and in that you are developing in your mind. Now maybe somebody is going to call this hero to a destination, and there for surely the person will murder to him. So that is a proper model. Now first you just made a prediction in your mind that the hero will be murdered, then you have made a model in a way that how he will be murdered. Similarly you will do while you are going to read this novel. Mental models help you to remember what you have read. Yes. uh like if I'm talking about murder of that uh, hero. So how I predicted that he is going to be murdered, because what I have seen till now in that story, in that movie, everything is going against the hero. What those everythings are, these all must be in my mind. So that means I can remember now the previous story. Predictions help you to pay attention to the sequence of events in fiction. Yes, if you are going to read the novel, your one event is linked with the other one. There is one event in which the boy suffered. He just he sold his gods, and when he sold his gods, he found after selling them, he found some money from that in return. And that money, when he went on the journey, that money was stolen by someone. And then he tried to work on another in on a crystal shop. That means if the money was not stolen by him, never try to work on that shop. So one event is related to another. So this is the way you will predict the future of the boy. And maybe I'm going to predict that yes, by working on the same shop, he will collect again money, and he will going to move towards his journey, and he is going to start his journey again, and going to move towards his destination. So that means first event help the other, and other event help the other, and so that's in the sequence we make. uh, we connect those events, we kept those events in our mind, and through that we made a prediction that what he will do. Then predictions help you to support by supporting your predictions with the evidences from the text, you develop critical thinking skill and improve comprehension. So with guessing for the future what will happen, this will help you to prove that text that you are going to read. So what I thought, that this boy will collect the money from the crystal shop, and he is going to continue his journey. That is my prediction. Now uh, how I worked on it, I worked with the previous, I linked the previous events with it. So that means I developed my critical thinking and improved the my comprehension skills, my reading skills, my understanding about the text. So this is an example they have given, that how predictions are given. Sometimes they are given, I predict that Karana will help the dog that attacked her brother. If I bought 5 items at Target, I estimate the price will about $2,500. My hypothesis that combining mm, my hypothesis that is that combining pure sodium water will create an explosion. As I listen to this symphony, I guess the tempo of the second movement will be faster. So from the words, you can see from the word prediction, estimation, hypothesis, and guess. These are the words that help you that will help you to make a prediction. And this is the way we make prediction. So these type of words you will find from the novel. And even if you are not going to find the predictions into the novel, you are going to sorry make these type of predictions by using these words. Then what is basically said that good readers always support their predictions with evidences from the text. Hypothesis. Sana, hypothesis is a general statement that we make. Hypothesis is basically a foundation that we make before proving an argument. It's a supposed kind of thing that we make. On the basis of this hypothesis, we uh, we prove that thing. You can say that hypothesis is a theory, or that leads us towards further explanation, further investigation. Is it clear now? Hypothesis, good. If you are clear, hypothesis is basically a proposition like that is made, and for that supposition, for this kind of theory, we need some evidences that we collect, and these evidences are basically some sort of explanations that we make. you know I will send you I will add a slide into your this these slides about hypothesis, so that you are going to be clear. So that's why it is said that when you are going to state a statement, a general statement, it's a general statement that must should be very clear, and it should be very understandable for the people, because on this statement you are going to uh, test your this statement is going to be tested. And if it is ambiguous, it is not clear to people, they will not understand your facts. So it's a testable prediction that we make. Is it clear now? Okay, perfect. So we were talking about the predictions of hypothesis, sorry, predictions. So that is said that good readers always support their predictions with evidences from the text, and it is not enough just to guess about. Like it is not enough. Like if I'm going to talk about, like, okay, the boy will move in the boy will continue his journey after collecting the money from the crystal shop. So I just said it, but I haven't proved it until the rest of the text. The rest of the text that I'm going to read is not going to prove it. Then proving a prediction to be true calls for careful reading of the text. What you made in your mind as an assumption for the future, your text that you are reading, read it carefully. Then you are going to learn that what you have made as in prediction, if it is going to true or not. So how can you support your predictions and prove they are true? By reading it carefully, by reading your text carefully. That's it. This is all your topic. If there is any question, you can ask. I'm going to unmute you all, so you can ask me the questions. Yes. Take me to this.